Tēnā koutou katoa. Aku hoa, aku whanaunga o Aotearoa nei, e haere tawhiti mai tēnā koutou. He kōrero au ki a koutou i tēnei wā. Te mutunga o taku whakahoki ki te whakatau Auntie Di, me tū tātou ki te waiata kāpine, mārama, ka pai. Ka tangi te titi, ka tangi te kāka, ka tangi hoki ahau, tihei mauri ora. The titi calls, the kāka calls, and I call, behold, there is life. I te mea tuatahi me mihi atu ki a Auntie Di. Ka riko nei I tēnei wā, engari I whakatau ia ki a tātou katoa. I want to acknowledge the welcome from Auntie Di. Me ngā tupuna o Nehera, me ngā tupuna o tēnei wā o te whenua nei, to the traditional owners and ancestors of this land that we meet. E maumahara ki a rātou mā, I pay homage to those who have passed. Ki a tātou te hunga ora, o Aotearoa, o te whenua moemoea, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Want to acknowledge those who have passed on. And to all of us happy faces who are here today, greetings to you all, tēnā koutou katoa. Ka pine a koe au, ki te pine o te aroha, ki te pine e kore nei, he wai kura e. Tai te mutai mai, mai roa e mai e, kia mutu taku i roi matai. Kia ora. We have our Olympics of the kapahaka on in Aotearoa at the moment. I don't think we would make the stage. We might make the entry. Kia ora, everybody. I feel really honoured and privileged to take a bit of time to provide some context as we go into the next couple of days. And I want to start with a couple of stories. And the first one is from some thoughts that I gathered when a good friend of mine, Anne-Marie Roberts, who works in your agency very similar to mine, suggested that I go and look up what June Oscar has got to say. And I've watched this Aboriginal woman and was very impressed at her focus on the human rights and aspirations for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders here in Australia. One of her stories, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, talks about when she was in Darwin and observing Aboriginal women with their children going to catch a taxi. And as they went to each of the taxis, 5 of them in a row, each of them locked their doors. Then she walks out from the market and the taxis unlock their door. She goes to ask them, why did you lock their door? And each of them had sort of said, well, we thought they couldn't pay. I thought that was interesting. The second story I want to share with you is from a couple of days ago. I was sitting with one of my chief executive colleagues and another senior colleague, and we were shortlisting for a role that's going to work with a number of us chief executives. We get to the Maori candidate, and the senior recruitment officer says, I'm not sure if she can work with Pacific people. I look up, I'm a bit miffed at this point. If I could reach him, I would have screwed his neck. And I said, wow, is that a question you've asked all of the candidates, not just the Maori one? Now, I talk about these two very simple stories because they illustrate that mindset matters. And when I looked at our, it's gone, but the Reimagining Public Administration, I thought, God, that's a bit of a mouthful. Isn't that a bureaucratic way of saying we can't continue to do the same things if we want to get different results for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders and Maori people. So that's our challenge, whanau. As those who work in the public sector, what can we do to influence the mindsets of those that we work alongside, and probably even ourselves from time to time? It's interesting that each of those taxi drivers, and probably that recruitment person who I know blushed when he realised what he asked, have taken photos. I call them photos. They're impressions and images that stay in their subconscious mind. And that's where they start. That's where we start. We might meet somebody or see somebody and have an impression about him or her or their families. And those photos are often hard to change. And I see this every day. I think some of my colleagues see it every day, that these photos are full of ignorance. Sometimes they're just ignorant of knowledge. They are full of things that they don't know or don't want to know because it will affect their performance. And the link between people's images and photos and performance is high. I posit that it's high. So if we can all imagine that we are trying to influence the photos of our colleagues so that they can reimagine what is possible to make a difference for the people that we work alongside, wouldn't that be magic? And why? Why does this matter? Because I advocate that generic analysis that begins with ethnicity breeds bias. Instead, I would like analytics that begin with context and circumstances, which enables patterns to be understood so that it's a Maori problem or it's an Aboriginal problem is not the first photo that people take. If our key performance metrics, because I think performance matters, what gets done, what gets measured, what is valued and what is counted, often is what people drive for in what they do towards performance. And so even though I know we work in challenging circumstances, we all work to a political system that sends us different messages from time to time, I would hope that we have already captured the vision about seeking to improve and make those opportunities for, in our case, whanau hapu and iwi, in your case, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander colleagues, that we are already on the solution, that we are not one of the problems. And I'm hoping that your photo is already, and it has been, reimagining what is possible. We're taking some courage in Aotearoa to look at what does it mean to be a effective public service for Maori people. And you might ask, isn't that what we're already supposed to do? Of course it is. But we live in a system and a part of a system where vertical accountabilities are still a part of our complexity. And the work that we're working on is seeking to work horizontally and to understand what can we do different that's going to make a change for the people that we wish to serve. I'm ever the optimist that changes we are trying to implement and think about in Aotearoa will make a difference. We presently have a proposal that is about the public service and a new act for the public service. And as part of that, the proposal is that we have a public service that delivers for Māori. Now that should not be novel, but we know that we need more tools to help and enable the public service to take different photos of our Māori population. These changes are in response to concerns being voiced by Māori people that institutional racism exists. that there is low cultural competence across the public service, that Māori are overrepresented in social statistics, and that there are ad hoc engagement processes with communities around Aotearoa. And finally, that we have very few Māori, very few decision makers with Māori perspectives, which I think is a little bit different to having Māori in decision-making roles who may not have Māori perspectives. So to be a public service that has trust and confidence of our Māori public, to answer Leilani's questions, we are seeking to think through how do we incorporate Māori perspectives into the core businesses of our agencies, not just an add-on at the end when it's a problem. That we have a culturally intelligent public service, of which ANZSOG is one of the contributors to that. I always think of ANZ as Aotearoa New Zealand, and then I remember, no, it's Australia, New Zealand. Greater involvement in partnerships. We heard the language of co-design. You're going to hear from a number of the participants and speakers today who, for all of the ones that I know who are speaking, have had very different and encouraging experiences in working alongside our Māori communities. So, don't we have an opportunity in the next couple of days? And I invite you to go into these sessions ever optimistic to understand what are the principles that have been guiding the reimagination that must take place in the public service. How did they influence the attitudes and perspectives of the various actors, whether inside government or outside government? Remember, we all take photos, and in order to change those photos, what is it that we can do to influence that? And with the benefit of hindsight, what do they say they would do differently? We have the privilege at the end to give a bit of a wrap-up. So we're really interested to listen attentively to what the speakers have to say and your insights and commentary throughout the next couple of days. Finally, one more closing story. A colleague of mine, and he's here, he's presenting today. We were sitting amongst a board thinking about our young people who find themselves in challenging circumstances. And we were talking about co-design and how that might work with communities. And he made a real interesting proposition. The sentence that we were reading said that the system should be relevant to all children, and in brackets, including Māori. He pipes up and says, why don't we have the sentence say, the system should be relevant to all children, including Pākehā. In other words, he was suggesting if the system was designed with the experiences that we want for the many young people and their families who come through our children's system, had been thought about right from the start with a Māori photo, perhaps we wouldn't have to take different photos throughout. You can guess what happened, that sentence got taken out. So we live in the real world, where as public servants we know the struggle is strong. We know we are intelligent enough to make a difference in the roles that we accept when we come to work in the public service. Yes, we are serving all citizens, but it is my hope, with your attendance here today, that you have a sharp eye on the photo as it relates to, in our case, Māori whanau hapu and iwi, and here in Australia, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders. So kia kaha, be strong whanau over the next couple of days. Again, we're interested to hear your insights. Tēnā koutou, greetings to you all. Tēnā koutou katoa.